Welcome by this tutorial for making 3D printed gear for both Cerea GPS and AgOpenGps. The first thing I'm going to do is remove the steering wheel. This way it's easier to make the dimensions and to later install the gear. As you can see, I got a belt system in place right now. It also works great, but for this tutorial I'm going to make some 3D printed gears. The first thing to do is when removing the steering wheel is removing the bolt in the middle, so that's what we're going to do. So here's the bolt. After removing the M32 bolt of the steering wheel, it's quite easy to remove the steering wheel. You can just pull it off. I already loosened it a little bit, like this. And now we got our steering wheel removed. So here we are again. We got our steering wheel on the workbench. You can probably hear some 3D printing noise in the background. That's what you get when you do some 3D printing, I suppose. In order to measure the steering wheel, we got a measuring tape and some calipers here. So the first thing that we're going to do is measure the diameter of the steering wheel. You kind of get the idea what I'm going to do, and after that I make a drawing here on this piece of paper. So we can see that the outer diameter of the steering wheel is 40.5 centimeters. So first what we'll do, we draw a big circle. I'm not a good drawer, as you can see. I'll just make it here and say 40.5. The diameter of the steering wheel isn't really important, but it's nice to have it. That way it gives you a good indication of how the gear is going to look after it's finished. So the inner diameter of the steering wheel is, let's measure that next. Let's see. 35.5. So the inner diameter is 35.5. Okay, we write that down. So next thing we're going to do is draw the spokes of the steering wheel. This steering wheel has 3 spokes, and in the middle it has this cylinder shape. We're going to draw that in as well. And I think it's best to measure it with the calipers. So if I put the caliper around it, it's easier to put it the other side around. I'm going to do a measurement. And here we have it. It's, if I do the reading, 7.5 centimeters diameter. Okay, we're going to draw a circle in here. Excuse me if it looks a little bit messy, but it's hard for me to film and do the drawing at the same time. So we got our measurement here. It's 70, let's see, 74, okay. Okay, and now what we're going to do is the width of the spoke is, if we take a look at the steering wheel, we can see here on the top it's wider, and it's kind of goes smaller in the bottom, so it's kind of in the triangle shape here. So what I'm going to do is measure the top. It's 2.5, and in the bottom it goes down to 1.5. So it fits in 1 centimeter, okay? So 2.5, 1.5. So in the top, it's this is not the official way to do a mechanical drawing, but it really isn't the most easy way. Also use two measurement types. I have centimeters and millimeters, but it's you know, you probably know it. I can also write it next to there. So okay, so then we got the bottom here. This is 25 centimeters. I mean millimeters, okay? So in order to measure the angle, we do the following. We have the thickness of the grip, and I put my caliper around there. And if we read the thickness, it is 2 centimeters, okay? So we're going to write a triangle here. Going down, and then here we have this this thing, and that's 20 millimeters, okay? In reality, this would be flat, so it would be more like this, okay? And we have this measurement, it's 170 millimeters, okay? And then we need to know this height, okay? It connects like this on top. It flattens out here, and then we want to know this height, and we can calculate the angle, okay? The height of the steering wheel is 10.5 centimeter. Okay. So 5 millimeters. Okay. So now we took all the measurements of the steering wheel that we required. So if you removed the steering wheel from the tractor, you can also take it to your desk when making the drawing for the gear. But removing the steering wheel isn't necessary. You could also do it without. But then you have to make more complex gears that kind of connect together in multiple pieces, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to fit it around the steering wheel. So it is also good to understand the smaller gear. So we have one gear on the steering wheel and the other gear is on the motor, obviously. Here I have the phidgets motor that is used in most autosteer builds. The axis on there is 12 millimeters. I will also put a link to the mechanical drawing of this motor in the description. Make sure to check the gearing of your motor, because I think that the motors with different gearings have a different height gearbox. The gearbox is the thing on top here. So here we are at the desk. We got our steering wheel here, our measurements, the caliper and the measuring tape. This way we can check the dimensions once we make a drawing. Welcome to the second part of this tutorial on how to make 3D printed gears for Cerea and AgOpenGPS. In the first part we took the measurements of the steering wheel, and now we're going to make a 3D model of the steering wheel. The reason we are going to do this is because this way we can make a gear fit around the steering wheel, basically. The first step that we want to do is select the top position. Before you can select the top position, you want to use CAD software. In this case I'm using Fusion 360 because I find it easy to use. Okay. When we selected the top position, we select the Create Sketch button, select the top sketch, and we're going to draw a circle by selecting a circle in the top left corner. So the outer diameter of our steering wheel is 405 millimeters. That's one. And the inner diameter was, let's see, 355 millimeters. So now we've got our basics of the steering wheel. And now we want to enter the base of the steering wheel, the part that connects to the steering column, which was 74 if I measured. I will remeasure it again now with the caliper. I can see it's even wider at 78. So I will make it 82 just to make sure that it fits, basically. Okay. Now we are going to draw the spokes in the steering wheel. We'll start at the center, go to the side, connect it to the inner connected to the inner part of the steering wheel. And before we make the next line, we select the first one, select line, and then connect it to the inside of the steering wheel and put it at 120 degrees. This way it is divided within the steering wheel. We select the first line again, click the line tool, and do the same thing again at 120 degrees. So we can also remove these lines so it's more clear. Now we have our base steering wheel with three spokes basically. The next step is to enter the thickness of the spokes. The top of the spoke we measured was 15 millimeters. I will add a little bit of margin, so I can do 7 on both sides, or I mean 8 millimeters like this. And now I will do the bottom, which we measured at 25, which would divide it by 2 be 12.5. But just to have a little bit of margin, I'm going to make this 14 to make sure that everything fits. Because this is the side of the steering wheel on which you will fit the gear. So it's important to have a little bit of a tolerance on the measurements, so that way the chance of it fitting is much greater. So we will also do 8 on this side, 8 on this side. So I connect it up with the circle that we created. We can see if I move it around that it makes a blue line. So that's where I connect it. We will make this 8. We will make this 8. Okay, now I will connect the points up and draw the spokes. You can see the blue circle, that's when it connected up properly. So to check if everything went correctly, I'm going to measure the profile area, which you can see in the bottom right corner. All 3 are the same, so this way we know that each spoke is identical and that everything is done correctly. So the next thing I'm going to do is create a square around the spokes, because the spokes narrow down to the bottom, as you can see, I mean to the top, when they connect to the grip. And if we enter the angle of the steering wheel, we don't have a straight bottom basically. I will explain it later, but I select rectangle from create and then a 3-point rectangle, 1, 2, and then connect it to the bottom. Like this, I think it's good. Yes, and then 1, 2, and then 3. 1, 2, to the bottom, 3. So right now we got our steering wheel with squares around there. We can check the profile area again. It's almost identical. Well, the difference comes from the way we draw the squares not being exactly the same, but that isn't really a big problem. We press finish sketch, and the next thing we're going to do is extrude our profile. We will do it like this. Select all the profile, all the areas with the left mouse button and holding the shift key. So now we've got the base of our steering wheel connected, I mean selected. and we want to extrude this profile, we can do it like by pressing the extrude button on the top left corner. So the height of our steering wheel is 170 millimeters. Actually it's 130, but I add 40 millimeters for a shaft, which I will clear out now. We can re-see the sketch by clicking the little eye icon here, and we will select the spokes of the steering wheel like this. And when we select those, and we'll do it like this, go to the extrude again, extrude it up to 40. Okay, so now we got the basis of our steering wheel, as you can see. The next thing I'm going to do is to draw the angle of the steering wheel in the spokes. Basically, the way I do that is by selecting the face where I want to make the drawing, and now select the create sketch button. The height of our spokes from the bottom was 105, so we select that, make a triangle like this, connect it to the bottom, finish it up. The height of the spokes was 24 millimeters, and now also do 24 on the bottom. And finish the sketch. You can, as you can see, we can select the faces now. So you want to do this on all three sides. After finishing up all the drawings, we should see our steering wheel with the spokes drawn into the body that we made. So we select the planes with our left mouse button and our shift key, select the extrude, and then remove the material from the steering wheel. As you can see, you should see a spoke now. And now select, extrude, remove. On the left side, select, extrude, remove. Remove, yes. So now we have our steering wheel with square spokes, but like we said earlier, the spokes aren't square, but they narrow up in a triangular shape. So we want to remove the square that we created earlier. The way we can do this is by reselecting the sketch with the eyes symbol, select it like this. The reason I made a little square is because if I didn't have done that, and we remove the material, then this face area won't be exactly flat on the bottom. It won't be square. You can try it out for yourself, but I found this the easiest way to make the spokes correctly. So I select this area, and like this. Do the same on this side, hold the shift button. And now I select the extrude again, take it all the way up, okay. And as you can see, now we have a triangular shape in our spokes. The next thing that we'll notice is that the base of our steering wheel, and also here in the bottom, shows a small gap. And the way to fix this is by showing the sketch again, going to the bottom, hold the shift button, click all the areas, like this. There are probably much faster shortcuts to do stuff like this, which I'm not aware of. But this is easy to replicate, and especially for beginners that want to make gears for their steering wheel. They are not full-time mechanical engineers. Anyway, so we selected all the areas, and then we use the extrude button. Now we remove the base of our steering wheel, select everything again like this, 1, 2. So now we have everything selected. Zoom out a little bit, go to the extrude button, extrude the base again, like this. And as you can see, we have a perfect steering wheel with the spokes attached. Without any holes in the base. The next part will be the creation of the gear. We will do it, you can make the gear by going to Tools. Go to Add-ins, Script and Add-ins, Stock. Fusion 360 comes with a spur gear. A spur gear has straight teeth, but it's best to use a helical gear. In order to use the helical gear, you need to download the add-in and install it onto your Fusion 360. If you don't have that yet, you can search Helical Gear Fusion 360 in Google. It should lead you to the official Fusion 360 page, and you can install the add-in so you can make helical gears easily yourself. As you can see, I already run the plugin, but if you don't run it yet, you select the run button here. And the next thing you do is go to Solid, Create Helical Gear. And now we're in the menu where we can make gear. I want a gear. It already has with 72 teeth, a module of 2.5 and a gear thickness of 20. Okay? Module 2.5, 72 gears, teeth and a gear thickness of 20. I click OK. It should create a gear for me. So I'm aiming at a gear ratio of 1 to 6 to 7. I mean 1 on 6 or 7 gear ratio. And that's why 72 spokes is just a good, 72 teeth is just a good amount. So now we got our gear and our steering wheel. Both are different bodies, as you can see, which is good. The next thing I want to do is select both in the left and align components. This way I know for sure that they are centered and the gear is in the middle of the steering wheel. As you can see, the steering wheel is the gear is a little bit too high. I select the gear. I can also select it like this, move or copy, and then lower the gear a little bit. Yeah, I could do minus 2 millimeters should work out. Okay. As you can see now, the gear fits nicely around the steering wheel. Probably in reality the base is a little bit higher like this, but it doesn't matter. The next thing we are going to do is combine both elements, and this is basically where the reason why we draw the steering wheel. First we select the target body, which is the gear, and the tool body, which is the steering wheel. We select the option Operation Cut and select the Keep Tools option, and now we press OK. It seems like nothing has changed, but when we remove the first body, which is the steering wheel, we can see now the cutouts have been made for the gear basically, which is the first step. So what we want to do now is go to Create Sketch. On top of the steering wheel, on top of the gear. The next thing that you want to do is select the circle tool and make the outside of the steering wheel. We can, let's see, the outside of the gear is of strength within the gear. Yeah, let's do it like this so the spokes come out, and which will make it nice. It's probably easier to do it like this, connect it up like this. And as you can see, everything aligns perfectly, which is good. And now we'll make the inner ring of the steering wheel, which is our 82. And I will make this, let's see, 92, which would give it a 5 millimeter wall thickness. 102 which gave it a millimeter. Let's make this 100. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is draw a line over here and connect it to the inner gear and make sure that it runs parallel to the opening of the spoke, like this. Do this on the other side as well. Connect it up like this. Okay. So what we could do now is remove these pieces. We can do that by selecting the area, go to solid and removing the material. Right now we have a gear that could fit around the steering wheel, which is really cool. The only problem being that this takes a long time to print and it doesn't really look that nice. So what we can do is add the sketch that we made by going to your timeline and press edit. And now I'm going to add an extra line. On top I will make it 10, and on the bottom I will make this 5. I could also make this about 7. Should give the gear a little bit more strength. 10, 7, 2 other gear up, like this. And then we can add a small hole in the middle, like this. We can make this, let's say, 4 millimeters, or 3. Let's make this, yeah, let's make this 5. Or make it a little bit smaller, make it 4 millimeters, like this. Connect this to the middle. And now do the same on all 3 sides. Connect it up like this. Make it 10 millimeters. Seven on the bottom. 7 on the bottom. 10 like this. 7 on the bottom. 7 on the bottom. 10 on the top. Connect all the points together like this. Now create finish sketch. Oh, I want the last sketch. I select, oh wait a second, I forgot the holes on the outer part. So I made the holes 4 millimeters in the middle like this. Okay. click Finish Sketch. Select the areas again. Press the Extrude function, and now put everything like this. And as you can see here, we got our gear, and if we add the body, we can see the way it fits around the steering wheel. With the holes that have been made in the steering wheel, you can connect this easily with tie ribs. Later, if you also have a little bit more experience, you could also make small brackets on top of the gear to make it fit more easily. What I would also show you is how to make a gear for the phidgets motor. The way we do that is create Helical Gear. So the next thing that we're going to do is create the small gear for the phidgets motor. I'm going to make this 12 teeth, keep the gear thickness 20, the module 2.5, and make the handedness left, because otherwise the gears won't fit. I press OK. Now we should see a little gear. It is inside. It is in the inside of the other component. I can move that around. I go to move or copy. Drag it up and do it like this, just so you can see the way it fits. Well, you get the idea. This is supposed to fit basically. Something like this. Okay. So now we have our small gear as well. What we want to do is create a sketch on top of it. Capture the position first. Go to the middle of the gear. The middle is here. Make a 12 millimeter hole. Make it 12.1, so this way it fits more easily around the shaft of the gear. The next thing that we want to do is create a hole that is a little bit bigger to put the clip around there. So this is the mechanical drawing of the shaft of the phidgets motor. We can see that the diameter is 12 millimeters. And that the length of the shaft is 28 millimeters, but it has these two engravings where you can put the clip around there, so the gear doesn't slide up and down. And this is about 18 millimeters. So what we'll do is first create the hole like this. We'll just get this. Oh, wait a second, we also want to have the... I forgot to add the spline. I can do it like this, edit sketch, create a 3-point rectangle. The spline is 4 millimeters, as I'm not mistaken. So we make this 4. And then, I think 4 is a little bit too much. 3, 2. 2.5, because half of it is in the 2.5. I think this should fit. Okay, and now we finish the sketch. We'll remove this bit. Get this down. And then also lower this about 3 millimeters. This way we can fit a small clip around it. So this is all that you want to do. Now we got 3 bodies. One is the gear for the steering wheel, the other is the gear for the small fidgets motor, and the other one is the steering wheel, which we don't really need anymore. Now we made our nice looking gear set, which will fit on this Fendt 300 Farmer series. If you want a tutorial on how to print this gear, you can let me know. I hoped this tutorial was helpful for you and allows you to create your own gears for your tractors.